بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. يا ربنا زدنا علما وتقوى وبارك في أوقاتنا وفي أقوالنا وفي أفعالنا وتقبل منا ولا تأخذنا بنا لقد ظلمنا أنفسنا ونحن من المقصرين فنعتمد عليك ونتوجه إليك ونتوب إليك ونستغفرك ونصلي ونسلم على الذي أرسلته بالهدى ودين الحق. I wanted to reflect on the question really briefly before I call it a day. Who qualifies Imams? And this question is an important one. This question is an important one in which we many times don't reflect upon. The reason why I pose this question is because every time I turn around, there's someone, and I have to say it like this, someone from the professional community, or even at times a person that's not an imam, but they may have some credentials in some area of Islamic scholarship. Everyone seems to want to enter into the question of who should qualify an imam. And so what you find is that everyone is dictating to the imam what should be done and what shouldn't be done, to the point where the imam is what we call an appendage of the whim of the community. If the imam says one thing, part of the community may arise and erupt on the imam. If the imam says another thing, the board may come to the fore and have an issue with the imam. It gets to be a point that the concept of imam is invalid at this point. The idea of imam, as we understood it to be for a number of centuries, is no longer the concept that we have of imam in today's time. The way that imams are hired and fired, it indicates that the imam has no real value in the community. And so this new set of intervention, so to speak, as far as ideas are concerned, that is becoming popular in the community, where everyone jumps in to say who the imam is and how the imam should be and who qualifies to be an imam, is unheard of. We say that who really truly qualifies an imam are other imams with experience and knowledge. That should be the case, because imams are professionals in what they do. And so that imam who's to be qualified should be qualified by a board of his own peers. That's important. That's important that we move in that direction versus in the direction that you have this professor or that professor or this doctor or that doctor or this person and that engineer, everybody trying to qualify who the imam is, and no one can do the imam's job. That in itself is enough to boil the blood of anyone that is concerned with the well-being of the community. And we say that because, yes, imam have issues. I'm one of those who is critical of myself and critical of others in the position of imam. But I'm critical of myself and others as having been an imam over a long period of time, and in the capacity and the way that I am an imam. I was in a masjid for a number of years And I understand what it means to be disempowered as an imam and empowered as an imam. And so I say that to say not to legitimate anything, because that in itself is not a proof in itself, but is to be transparent with where my position comes from. In other words, it's not that imams are beyond reproach. I understand the critical mindset, but it's not beneficial to have this concept or this constant pressure that's placed on imams, and that everyone wants to come in and dictate as to whether an imam is qualified or not. Imams have to do that. Imams that are seasoned have to be the ones that support other imams in a peer group. In a coalition of professionals that are interested in their own personal development and well-being. Or else what you begin to have is people speculating that don't understand the job and don't understand the task and all the, I laugh sometimes. I listen to a lot of people, and I hear a lot of people, they try to tell me do this, do that, or don't do this, or do that. Different people at a distance, at near. And I laugh because I sit there and I say to myself, do you have people from outside of your job dictate to you how to do your job? Like, if you hire a person to do their job, then let them do their job. What you should be in the position of doing is asking, how can we facilitate for you to do your job better? Not constantly dictating from the sides, right? And so imams, that's what they need. They need from that organization that runs the masjid, that organized body of people that call themselves a board or whatever, that should be saying, Imam, what is it that you need in order to be effective and efficient to do your job? That's what should be the case. Because an imam position is not just a hire-on. It's not just an employee position. And it's in the Islamic sense, let's not create bid'ah, and the meaning of what an imam is, because that's what we have done in our community. We have innovated the idea of an imam to be a symbolic figure. And that's why I've said in other lives that we continue the colonial process. We're finishing off the deen, and I'm still waiting for Dr. Hassan Bagby, and I hope that he watches this. I'm still waiting for Dr. Hassan Bagby to release his study, the 2020 study of the Muslim community, because his previous study that he issued out before, I utilized that study over the years to understand the community really well. And if you go back to his masjid study, his mosque study, people, you can predict, because I studied sociology and all of that type of stuff. And you don't have to study sociology to use it as a tool, but I'm telling you how I used it. I was able to predict trends. I have a correlation that I wish I had more data for. You should see the number of masajid that he had visited and studied that were imamless. And I have a suspicion that I can draw a correlation, right? And it's a suspicion, it's not a normal suspicion, is that it's more of like an intuition that there's a correlation between imamless masajid rises in divorce, and rises in people going outside of the deen. Now, the whole issue of imams not being properly prepared, or imams having, issues in communication, that's another dimension. But a community that has some sort of leadership is different than a community that has no leadership. I know communities that I've even told professionals. I was an imam for a short period of time at one masjid. It was actually a prototype masjid because they were still in the process of building the masjid. And I told the professionals, I said, look, if you're going to, because I was going there on a regular basis to do Jummah, I said, look, if you're going to build a building, because that's what they were aiming at, and they had the land, I said, and you don't have anything in your plans to build, to bring an imam, then you guys need to create a model like that is going to work properly. It just can't be that just because you put the money forward, you think that you own the place and you want to do the khutbahs or you want to do this and do that. And because being an imam in the community is not just a placeholder, people. The imam has a particular function to guide the community and be there and support the community. And I think this is the problem that the professional community seems not to have an understanding of. And it bothers me, even I heard down the line, some sisters that study, they jump in and they're doing the same thing. Well, imams, this is why I say imams at this point in time, if we continue like that, imams will not exist. Even Dr. Yasir Qadi was talking about the necessity of raising the salary of the imams for continuity. Look, I came out of the Catholic Church, people. They have buku money, people. You understand what I'm saying? They have a leadership crisis because in this society, nobody wants to make that level of sacrifice. Where you go to be a priest and you don't get married, you just full-time commitment. But let me tell you something, with the lack of stability that there is in being an imam and the constant criticism that you get from the community and so much of the unseen work that goes in that nobody's appreciative of, and everybody is trying to dictate what should be the case and what shouldn't be the case. I'll say this to you, you may not like it. Who the hell wants to be an imam? Go make your $150,000. Go be the doctor, the computer scientist. Go be the gas station owner, make your $1 million, and you come in and you dictate. And you tell people what to do, right? Let's be on top of the world then at that point in time. If that's the attitude that people are going to have. That's not what I believe. But what I'm saying is that is the philosophy of the Muslim community. You understand what I'm saying? This is the philosophy of the Muslim. That's a colonial mindset. You have a colonial mindset, Muslims. We know what goes on in the Indo-Pak subcontinent with regard to who goes to be an imam. We know the reality in the Arab world of who came in to be an imam and how that functions. I remember when my Shaikh, we were in a masjid and we were trying to finish up reading Sunan al-Tirmidhi, and he said we need to stop now because we need to go to we need to call for the salah. And he says there was a time here in Egypt where if the imam didn't come, no second jama'ah was formed. If the imam didn't come, the community will wait till the imam came before making the salah. And it's not an issue of superiority or role of dictation and all of that type of stuff. It's more of an issue of understanding the function and the role of that person, right? And when that person is properly prepared, which if we want to divest ourselves of colonialism, we would be supporting our imams. Look, when I was studying to be a priest, people, there's priests get their BAs. They get their Masters of Divinity. They get they get another degree. The whole system is set up in that regard, people. That's why you have priests that are PhDs, priests that have 2 master's degrees, priests that have social work licenses. They're really prepared because their community invests in their leadership. That's just the bottom line. They have institutions devoted to that. That's why for me, I don't have a lot of tolerance because I understand what a functional community is, and I can't stop that experience that I have of what functional community and what functional leadership is, under those types of circumstances, to look at what we do to these religious leaders. So who qualifies an imam? An imam should be qualified by his peers. An imam is not qualified by a medical doctor. An imam is not qualified by a computer scientist. An imam is not qualified by other people. When the imams get to qualify their peer group, then that professional group can develop itself as any other professional institution. Aside from the issue of, the concept of accreditation, you understand what I'm saying? Accreditation work, is in the professional community. In my sociological studies, I know what a profession is. I'm not unclear on what a profession is. The term profession is used very loosely. Actually, professions are very much like priesthoods because you have to be accepted into that community. It's a priesthood. You have to be accepted to be a doctor. You have to be accepted to be a lawyer. You have to take your medical exam to come in to be a doctor. You have to take your bar exam. It's not just like a normal job that you just go to school for. No, you have to take another set of exams to come into that. And then you have to constantly renew that on a regular basis in order to be considered part of that professional community and have the rights that come along with that. We use the term profession loosely. I know I'm not stupid in that regard. But when it comes to imams, it's ridiculous. And I've seen that throughout the years. And I'm saying this because recently one young student, the reason for this live, I'll be transparent. One young brother was talking to me about some ideas that were being thrown out. And I've heard some other ideas before by people that are not imams, that they may have some dealings with scholarship. They're not even men. You know what I'm saying? And we see this over and over again. We see this problem over and over again. Imams have to supervise and guide each other in their development. And that takes another level of camaraderie. It takes another level of functioning. And a lot of times it doesn't happen because the way that the community has set this thing up is like a pool of minimum wage workers. That the stability of imamhood is threatened. So there's 1,000 imams they can pull from. But the reality of the situation is that we haven't given imams the opportunity to properly develop themselves so that they can really work the community. Like, why is it necessary, for a 15 to 20 member board to dictate what the imam is going to do? Explain that. If the imam is professional, then why is it that's the case? And see, what happens is that mentality is the same mentality that teaches youth to be imam, that are going to be imams. That mentality communicates the same problem that we don't want in the ummah, dictatorship, because the youth see that and they understand power to be that and leadership to be that. And they don't understand leadership to be stewardship, to be guidance, to be development, and all of that. And that's part of the dilemma that we have. Is that the way that what we understand of power and leadership is not Islamic. It's not Islam. It's not prophetic. And we can go into a whole discussion of why I say that. And I'm open to be challenged on that point. But it's not prophetic. Our communities are not prophetic in nature. There's no... and I keep saying this over and over again in these lives so that people can have an understanding of the direction that we're going. Look, we have opened up the door to secularism in our community to the extent where it undermines religious authority, period. It's to the point where people that they come in and they devote themselves to. I know a brother right now. I know how much his education costs to study Islam. I know, and it's not a light number. Not light number. Is equivalent to a medical education. I know how much money went in, because I was part of the process of making sure that he had a scholarship. And he won't come into the community because of that. He went out of the community. He's in the general public. I know another one that complains on the sideline that while teaching has been going to get a degree in another area. And in reality, we know the game that he's teaching right now. That's what he's doing. But in reality, he's setting himself up so he can continue to grow because there's no retirement package. There's no stability. There's no nothing for him as a teacher of Islamic studies and everything like that. And that's the same thing that happens with imams. And so imams have to train and develop other imams. The community shouldn't get involved in that other than to give advice as to what are some skills that are needed or to be supportive in continuing development. But that should be, don't overstep your realm, people. You know, you're overstepping your expertise. Even if you go and you study and you get like a degree, this and that. But if you don't practice, if you're not, if you don't have experience, if you're not going to leave your job to be in the role of imam or in the role of sheikh or in the role of teacher, why are you overstepping your bounds? Why are you coming in to the profession of another person trying to dictate to them how to do their job? That's not correct. You understand what I'm saying? That's not correct. That's not a professional approach. That's not respecting the dignity of that station and that position in the community. Imams need to guide other imams in their development. And that's why there needs to be a coalition of imams in that process. And that's why imams themselves had to be responsible for grooming and guiding other imams. That's why imams have to sit at the table and talk to each other in that regard. And because they don't do that, that's why we have 1,000 people dictating who an imam is and what an imam should do and how an imam should be. And our community is going to hell for it. Not literally the hellfire, meaning that it's a community in which people turn around and they don't love it. I talk like this because I love the Muslim community. If I didn't love the Muslim community, I wouldn't say these types of things. Because I would be scared for my position and I would be scared that, oh my God, I'm saying this and that. You know what I'm saying? And I have to be careful and be politically correct. I don't care. I left this. Go ask Imam Suhaib Webb. If I was ever on the celebrity type of approach, that was never my approach. Many people don't even know some of my activities because I don't even care for people to know. Yeah, I'll say every now and then for the sake of pushing forward the message, but to push forward myself is not necessary. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is the one that puts you in the time and the place where you need. But we have to be in a situation. I say these things, wallahi, out of love, out of concern that we're crashing. And there was people that before they used to say, well, when we first listened to what you were saying, we thought it was, over. And then when they found out that their own communities were in crisis mode, then all of a sudden they backed up. It's not my problem if you don't pay attention to what goes on. It's not my problem if you don't study the community properly. See, that's the difference between being an imam committed to the community of the believers and someone that comes in and does it as a hobby, or someone that just comes and does it as a job. And then you leave and that's it, with no more responsibilities. There's things that, become that imams are privy to that others will never be privy to. You understand what I'm saying? So imams deserve their positions. Imams deserve to have their role, to have stability in the community, in their lives, to have the ability to continue to develop themselves. And I say that over and over again. Rabbis, most rabbis are making $100,000 a year. And I'm not saying this from an issue of saying, well, imam should get $100,000 a year. That's a different type of discussion. But what I'm saying, look at those communities, 100,000 plus a year. If you understand the role and the leadership that a rabbi has in the community, since we like to imitate every other community that there is except the principles that we have, then you would want your imams to be in that position. Rabbis have power in this society. When I was working to be a chaplain, In the prison, I was making $100 an hour as a chaplain in the prison. The issue is that, alhamdulillah, that a lot of Muslims, in that area that I was in, are not in prison. So there's not equivalent hours between the chaplain that's a Christian and the chaplain that's a Muslim. The need is not the same. But when I went into that place, Imam Rios, how you doing? What do you need, sir? This, that. There's regard, basic respect. People don't cross the lines. What do you need to make it function, sir? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. We couldn't have this room, but we got this available for you, sir. They created the conditions for me to service the community. You understand what I'm saying? And so I'm looking at that. The non-Muslims, you know what I'm saying, are, they have a certain ethic when it comes to dealing with the imam as a professional concept that the Muslim community doesn't have. And I'm speaking for my brothers. That's what I'm speaking for. I'm speaking for my brothers. So people don't get it twisted. Don't think I'm speaking for myself and he's upset with his job and this and no. I'm speaking for my brothers because I get tired of having to listen to my brothers and the pain that they go through and nobody gives a damn. And everybody complains and everybody is waiting to see the imam fall. You're not there with, you're not there for the burnout stuff. That's the problem in the Muslim community. Imams don't have sabbaticals. Imams don't have decent vacations. Imams a lot of times don't take breaks. They're questioned about everything that they do. And then they're critiqued about things that they do. Because our Muslim community, mashallah, is like Ben Israel. You understand what I'm saying? You can't satisfy them. You can't satisfy them. You leave them Harun, they go and they make a calf. The Musa comes and they want to argue and fight with Musa. Musa says, this comes from Allah. But how? This, that. We have the qualities of Ben Israel in that regard. And so imams have to groom and develop other imams. Not the average community. The average community can give their advice systematically. That's what we should do. Systematically, imams, we want to sit down with you. We feel as though these are some needs that we have in the community. I know one masjid in another state outside of Illinois, because I'm in Illinois right now. And they didn't have an imam for years. Wallahi. And the brother, a hired imam. It was one brother that ended up volunteering periodically and this and that. And because when you look at the criteria, they wanted an imam that had a PhD in Islamic studies. They wanted an imam that had marital counseling skills. They wanted an imam. I'm talking about all in one CV. They wanted to see all that. An imam that was experienced. An imam with a hafiz of the Quran. An imam that has this type of recitation. An imam that can deal with the youth. An imam to do interfaith. By the time you finish, the imam should be making no less than 150,000 on that point. Because if he has a PhD and he has counseling skills and counseling credentials and all of that, if he ends up accumulating all of that, there's no necessity to be in the community working for 40,000, 50,000, 70,000, whatever. He can go create his own Islamic center, create his own counseling services. Because that's another thing too, that then the masjid wants you to do counseling, then they want to charge the Muslim community for that type of stuff. That's another issue. It's not even that they say, oh, Muslims, just create an endowment and a fund so that we can have counseling services for free. No, it becomes capitalism, baby. Then the imam has to start an Islamic school, and then it has to bring in a certain profit margin. It becomes straight up business. And the imam never gets a budget to be able to handle certain things or the space to be able to develop any projects, because now those people who came in, and I know the fiqh, what it says about who built the masjid and all of that, they do have some say, but it goes overboard. It goes overboard completely to the point where the concept of imam is made irrelevant. it gets me wired, because who should qualify the imam? A body of peers should qualify the imam. People that have experience should qualify the imam, and that not just anybody. But boards think that they have the ability to dictate Islamic studies. They have the ability to dictate what creates a good imam, what doesn't create a good imam. And you're speculating. Yo, that's the يعني هذا نوع من الكبر والناس يعني الناس جهلاء في هذا الموقف. هذا جهل مركب, as they say. They're ignorant. They don't even know that they're ignorant, and that's sad about the issue. I sat in an Imams training program in Egypt with some of the top scholars, training other Imams, and I'm trying to, Imams that already have experience, and they're going and they're doing further. Sheikh Ali Juma at that time designated money to Dr. Taha Jabir to do an Imam training program to further the training of the scholars from Al-Azhar. There are already Imams that were trained in Al-Azhar so that they can be even better Imams. Can you imagine that? That's what happens when scholars are dealing with the issue. And I sat in that program. I know what Dr. Taha Jabir told us. The visionary approach. And I tried to implement that. I tried to implement those things with the professional community. It doesn't last at all. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't last because that's not their interest. They can't maintain it. They can't keep it up. The same, other things too. Other things that go into build. 15 years ago when I was talking about mental health in the Muslim community, the community that I was in, people wanted to chase me out of the masjid. What are you talking about, Akhi? People should have Iman. Iman, why are you talking about suicide? Why are you talking about this? Why are you talking about that? So I went to school for a reason. I think. You know what I'm saying? And so that becomes the issue. Imams should qualify other Imams. And I use those examples to say that I know personally the opposition. I know personally the opposition that people get. But it bothers me that some people become scholars and they're in positions, you understand, they get some knowledge, and then now from the outside they try to dictate these things. Sisters shouldn't dictate, you know what I'm saying, what brothers are doing in this regard. That's one thing. Professionals from other professions shouldn't dictate what imams should be doing. Imams themselves have to groom themselves. People can give suggestions, but don't dictate. You understand what I'm saying? Don't try to make the situation worse for imams. Create a better situation. Why? If you want to give imams psychological tests as part of the chatter on the street, give imams psychological tests. Do this. Why don't you create imams? Why don't you get imams health insurance? Why don't you get imams, a paid vacation? Why don't you get imams, a retirement package? Why don't you help imams get housing? Give the imams 5-year contracts, 3-year contracts versus every year they don't know if their job will last or not. Don't you think that creates the conditions of frustration that some imams are in, and it creates a non-committal approach where the imam is trying to figure out where's the next hustle? Because at the end of the day, what that education that he got and his experience got accumulated, it doesn't really mean anything to the Muslim community. Because even when the imam gives an opinion, I know one imam, he cried to me about the situation. He said, Akhi, I don't even know if I have a contract. And then he said, I'm trying to do a program and they're telling me, they're dictated to me, telling me don't, no. He said, I'm the imam. Like, what? If it's basically you castrated the brother. You basically are castrating people. But then that imam is supposed to be the face in front of the news. That imam is supposed to be the face in interfaith. How? It's so bad that I was on a committee of different masajid with different leadership. and brothers that are serving as presidents, and also they want to take the role of the imam. They like the title. They love the title. And keep the title. Because at the end of the day, the same people, and I've watched this over decades, that same scenario, that masjid didn't end up doing anything for the community in the real sense. And that brother had to step down, because that's what usually happens in those types of scenarios. But the brother goes and he tells, look, this is the attitude. He comes in as the president of the masjid, and again, he tries to take the role of the imam, and you have a sheikh in the masjid who's a hafiz of the Quran, studies Sharia, has a master's in philosophy, has years of experience, was a teacher in Islamic studies, and he's like in a lowly position. So what does the so-called president of the masjid say in the board meeting? He tells, because there were imams there, and we were trying to come together to resolve the issue of the moon sighting and some other issues in the city. He tells the brothers, some of you can't make any decisions here because you have to go report back to your board. I speak for myself because he's the president of the masjid. I guess, he's controlling the board. And then he says, it's okay. You don't have to come next time. Just send in the people, that clean the bathroom. I'll send in the brother that cleans the bathroom. Wallahi, and I knew the brother that cleaned the bathroom in the masjid. He was a retired brother. You know the insult that is? The masjid is not the Ottoman Empire. The masjid is not the Sultanate of Abdul Malik II. Like, what mentality do we have? Like, how are we talking like that? Send the person that cleans the bathroom, like it's some sort of like we're in love with the title. And the title doesn't mean anything. And it bothers me because I was involved in that community, and then it's like, but when I say I want to raise money for mental health issues to help the Muslim community, now your title doesn't mean crap. You can't get me the 100,000 or the 20,000, or you can't make the community move, so we make that work. Like, what's the use of the title at that point if we're not in service of the people? And this is not to out people. This is, when we talk about the maqsad of the Sharia, hifdul deen, people are more concerned with the LGBT, this and that, but we are collapsing the deen internally. You understand what I'm saying? We're concerned about, well, they're going to influence our children morally. But no, look at the internal state of the community in this regard. If we want to talk about preservation of the deen, these things have to change in order to give the deen izzah, in order to give the deen standing. You understand what I'm saying? When we have strong institutions, people, then we have strength. And that's noted. And don't think that your local politicians don't know your dirt. They study that stuff really well. They see who is the constituency. When I was in New York City, one of the brothers told me he was doing his PhD in urban planning and community organizing stuff. And he was saying, I can't even get a solid number here in Brooklyn for how many Muslims are here, so that when I'm dealing with the local politicians, because it's all political at that point, he says, so they know who they're dealing with. He says, it's not organized. So what I have to do is just say, get a guesstimate number from the Juma, because the institution is not internally organized to be strong. See what I'm saying? And as long as our institutions are not internally organized so that they're strong and they're established, the $5 million building doesn't mean anything. Because at the end of the day, you can sit there and have a gala, but the politician knows you really well. The politician knows that you are disrupted. The whole system understands how the Muslim community functions. We've been told that. We've sat with officials, in that regard. They know the games. We have imams that have sat with officials, and they know. We understand how your Muslim community functions, they tell them. You understand what I'm saying? So that becomes the issue, that the imam is meant to be followed. And that's not just the issue, in the salah. In that case, the imam should have the ability to spiritually guide the community. The imam is the one that should have the ability to organize this group with that group, this person with that person, have the ability to bring this family together and that family together in marriage, have the ability to go into this household and reconcile with them, have the ability. That's how you have a solid community. And trust me, and last time I talked on this, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I gave models here. Like, I know the model, and people don't like it, of an imam running the community, and he cares, and the brothers are cool with it. They're cool with his orientation. It has some deficiencies, but they're cool with it. But guess what? That imam, mashallah, may Allah bless him for an eternity and accept from him and forgive his bad deeds. He turned the whole neighborhood into a Muslim community. I watched it. And he came up from the ranks. I watched it, and I watched him continuously develop himself. He continued to develop himself. He took the opportunity. He continued to elevate. Most people don't know Sheikh Walid al-Manisi. A lot of Sheikh Walid al-Manisi was made here in the U.S. Sheikh Walid al-Manisi that has the University of Minnesota, he did his master's degree with American Open University. He did his PhD degree here. He built his knowledge base, yes, from overseas, but he continued here. And look at the man. Now he has an Islamic university that's internationally recognized with schools all over the world. He has Minnesota. It has a school of Quran, a school of Hadith, a masjid that's a community family center. I haven't seen anything like that level of functionality in a masjid that has a board of 15 people that are all professionals. I'm sorry to say that. As a matter of fact, the masjids that I know, I've almost cried over this issue recently, and I had to actually call back and tell the masjid, what are you guys doing? Like, you entered on social media battling it out with each other. You have boards. You drag the masjid into 3 different lawsuits over different periods of time. The imams don't stay here. You know what I'm saying? And I tried to speak good about it to encourage them, but I know that is there's an underlying sickness. And yet that example that I gave you of that imam, he built an Islamic school and he built a community around the masjid. It changed the whole environment. Is that people don't like the leadership concept going to the imams. That's part of the problem. That people, they don't want to be under the leadership of an imam in that regard. And that's why I tell the imams, build your education up. Like, read on leadership, right? Because that's what everybody wants to read on. They want to imitate Dale Carnegie and, Tony Robbins and all that garbage. It is a lot of times there's garbage, right? Because it's taking us in a different direction. It's not taking, and you know what? In this regard, I respect Dr. Bilal Phillips, and I didn't understand his wisdom till recent. I remember, because I like Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But when he saw that the community was just drowning in that, and that was what they were using for their guide to organize themselves in life and everything, he went and he countered it with some Islamic principles. And for years, I used to be like, why did he do that? Because I like to read those types of things. I like to read those types of books. And I tried to pick the top ones from the top MBA programs in the country and this and that. But I understand the logic that what it has done to us, it has changed our character. It has changed our values. We talk to each other in that language. We cease to even talk to each other in Islamic language. In our own terminologies, we have taken on the model of the corporate structure. That's how we talk. And it becomes impossible to talk to each other about their reality because we won't listen to it. We don't care. It's like we're going to do whatever we want to do. Up to now, look, after 30 years, how many Fortune 500 companies do the Muslims run? For all this talk about being professional and corporate and using corporate strategies, how much of the economy do Muslims in America and the U.S. own? Look, Biden came on and just smacked Linda Sword up, and the Muslim community didn't have anything to say. No power at all in that regard. The vote, where was the power block at? If you want me to go deeper in this regard, I'll go deeper. With all the professionality and everything that we have, we lost Palestine in 2020. Palestine got wiped off of the map. We didn't have any ability to even say anything about that. And it came from right here. I take responsibility for my words in that regard. And it's not to down anybody. It's not to down the professional community. It's not to down people. No. I want to raise the professional community up, but they have to allow themselves to be raised up properly. It doesn't matter that you're in the $1 million mark. You know what I'm saying? You're still a baby boy in the system. Still a baby boy in the system. It doesn't matter that you have your stocks in your house and this, that. Like, we have to have leadership and vision. And leadership and vision, if an imam is giving advice, at least listen. You know, if an imam is talking from these perspectives, it's because imams are talking with other imams and other professionals and other experiences and looking and studying. That's my job. My job is to take care of the Muslim community. My job is to say we have a gap in this, we need to fix it. You know, my job is to say, you know, let's uplift, let's go to this level. So if we want real empowerment, it's going to take a higher level of organization. We shouldn't go into 2021 with the same mentality. You know, look, up to now, I'm embarrassed. A lot of the stuff that I was saying in the Muslim Sunni community, I was hoping that our doctors would come together with our imams and have conferences on a national level to guide the community. It never happened. The African Socialist Party came in. They talked about the vaccines. Nation of Islam came in. They brought, you know, experts in the whole science of vaccination and chemistry and biology on a. We didn't do that. We brought a doctor that has some credentials from here and that. We didn't do that. You understand what I'm saying? We took a half-baked approach to a crisis situation. And then we had imams that and boards that allowed for the masajid to be open to such an extent that people got sick. There was no real planning on the issue. And people, the normal thing, we holding on, we got imam, but whole communities got exposed. We didn't handle the crisis right. So today I was thinking to myself, if the Dajjal were to come, we would be hit. Because, you know, if the Dajjal were to come, we would be hit because we have no organization. We have no way to handle problems, this and that. We don't give people their space. And that's the bottom line. You know, we don't give the people their space to be able to function. And that's why everybody shoots to the side. Cada uno tira pa su lado, as we say in Spanish. Everyone just does their thing because the leadership is not there. And I posed this recently to some brothers. Who has the leadership in the Muslim community? Who do we go to? The imam, the board, the organization? Who has the leadership power? Who can make decisions for the Muslim community? And I don't know. I personally don't know. Who do we go to in the Muslim community that has leadership? And so that becomes the issue. So imams, you have to change the game. You have to change the game. This is not going to change until the imams change the game. We can't expect the change to come from outside. Imams have to set a criteria of what it is that needs to be studied. And it's not just Islamic sciences to be an imam. Right? And imams need to conference and to further, think on how you evolve the professionality. But it bothers me that you have people that are not in the field. They're coming and dictating what qualifies an imam and what doesn't qualify an imam. I don't really understand that process. You know what I'm saying? It bothers me because everybody, what they do is they shoot to their little corner. They grab a little power space and a little part of the kingdom of the dunya. And then all of a sudden, their collaboration stops. All of a sudden, learning from people stops. All of a sudden, they just want to sit in the corner and dictate. No, baby. This is a collaborative effort. This is the effort. Yani amrahum shura bainahum. If we want to say the same thing about the imam, know that the imam is bound to the community. That everybody in leadership is bound to the community. Imam Ibn Atiyah said, if the person doesn't listen, take them out. And we have to realize that, the group on every occasion, shouldn't have the decision. Shura takes on different functions. There's some things that Shura is the group should dictate. And there's some, the problem is that what happens is that when people want to take power, what they do is they undermine the leadership position. They undermine the leadership position. And that's why we have the situations that we have. We have these communities and these projects that they don't go anywhere. And I'm going to end on this experience. I watch a multi-million-dollar project just completely collapse. And you know why? Because of this type of issue. This type of issue that you have a sheikh in charge, and then you have others in other backgrounds. They want to come in rather than assist. They don't like to serve. They want to be on equal or above plane. They have an issue with that. And in that issue, the expertise goes back to the sheikh. It doesn't go back to the, to those other professions and they come in and guess what? Brother with degree from Oxford, this, that. At the end of the day, it was like, Sayonara, see you later, when the kitchen got hot. And he was responsible for moving to collapse the project. That's why Imams and Mashaykh have to train themselves properly. But because they didn't respect, the Imam had position in the community. The Imam was going to doctors' houses. He was going to, engineers, business owners. He would resolve their issues for them. The community trusted him. The expertise could have been there to build forward. But they didn't like a strong leader type. And they came in and collapsed it. But guess what? They couldn't replace it with anything. That's haram. You know what I'm saying? Because you're taking the zakat and the sadaqah money of the community, and now you're making a project that you collapsed after you took the money from the community. That's wrong. That's not correct. If you were to replace it with the model that you wanted, it would be something different. But you go and you undermine the work and then nothing is left. That's crazy. You understand what I'm saying? And this is the issue, that we have to rethink leadership on multiple levels. We have to rethink leadership. Say for instance, if there was an opportunity for right now in the world for us to I don't even know why people watch Urtugul, to be honest with you. To learn how to undermine other people. If anything, people learn from Urtugul is the necessity to have a good leadership. But that's not our focus. You understand what I'm saying? We're sitting there because we want to play the Urtugul role, thinking that we're the ones, that we're, in power, we're the Urtuguls. But in reality, look at what happened in COVID. After all the hours and hours and hours of people watching, where's the Urtugul planning at? Like, where's the planning at that's going to get the community to move in a good direction? And it's sad. It's sad because other groups, other communities outside of the Muslim community, they had plans. They had direct action. They had an understanding of how to function in crisis. And we did it. Because a lot of our people, they're content with their situations and their positions. A lot of Imams, actually, they lost out. A lot of Imams lost their jobs. A lot of Imams stayed in a really bad situation throughout the country. And who knows if those masajid are going to come back. But the point being is that everyone has to have their space. The same thing with Imams. You have to respect professionals in other fields. You have to respect the knowledge that they bring and the experience that they bring. And you should bring them into your circle and do shura with them. Right? I fought for you in this regard of saying that you should have your position. But you also have to learn how to benefit from others. You can't just belittle others because they didn't study Sharia or they didn't study Aqidah or Hadith or this or that. You have to benefit from them as well, learn. Because they know things that you don't know. That's just the bottom line. The Ibn Taymiyyah, I'll leave with this point. Ibn Taymiyyah saw that the way of Islamic leadership is a coalition between the ulama and those that are in administrative power. It's a dual system. And that doesn't mean that Imams can't be on that side either. But it's just the issue that, if our masajid had that, the masjid only needs management from the building side. Those people, you don't have to be in control in that regard. You should, the imam becomes not only the face of the community, but supposed to be the spiritual leader. If the imam can't be the spiritual leader in the community, then what's the purpose of the imam? I say personally, just get rid of the imam at this point. That's really where my thinking has gone in the last couple months. Just get rid of the imam. Just perfect the professional model, and that's it. There's no reason to be in these situations like this anymore. The reason why I say that is because if that is what is in the best interest of the community, to get rid of the weak imam, just get rid of the weak imam so we can have a strong community. And you take care of the counseling. The professionals, you take care of the spiritual development, you take care of the counseling, you take care of the conflict resolution, you take care of the interfaith stuff. You take care of the youth. You take care of the community development stuff. You figure that stuff out on your own without having to have the title of imam given to an individual. And you make the community strong like that. There's no, we can't continue in the same way, because what's going to happen with all these ideas that are coming out, and they're not coming from imams themselves, you're just going to continue. You're just going to push more and more people away. Think within the last couple of years, there's been so many imams that stepped down off of their positions and they're nowhere to be seen anymore, that if it continues like that, it's not going to be, it's not going to be healthy. And we need strong communities because people are leaving the masajid, right? They're leaving the community overall. We can't continue on those terms that we're on. And so, I leave on that. No, it's something to deeply think about. But if we're not going to build, and maybe we should model it. Maybe we should, if we want to get to, this is an idea too, that we can get from the Hassan Bagby old study. Look, let's model it. The community that has an imam that's strong, supported, and has wealth, and the community that has wealth and has a strong board with no imam, let's see which one is a better model, or let's see if the two models can exist. We should intentionally look at it from that perspective. Because what I've seen, I know one city, the community that has an imam with continuing development and support from the community, they built community. The community that has 3 committees and boards and this and that, and they all clash with each other, they just been embroiled in lawsuits. The other community, in which the board is okay, but they have no imam, they're not able to provide any services for the community outside of Jummah, and they have a periodic person that comes in. In reality, the masjid, it was there just for Jummah. It's not, no community was built around it. And so what's going to end up happening is that the youth in that community may not stay there. And after these people get old, it'll just be an empty building. That's the reality. But we need to look at these models and see what is working, what's not working. We want metrics for everything, but we need to take metrics on how these boards are working. You know what I'm saying? We need to take metrics on how these masajid are working. Not for the sake of holding it over people's necks, but for the sake of putting it on the table, what is working, what's not working. But we like to hold the imam to accountability and the detailed hours and this and that, and give the imam no freedom. That's what we should ask for, people. That's what we should demand. But in the meantime, imams should come together and build up other imams. You know what I'm saying? Imams should come together, build up other imams, have continued development conferences, enrichment conferences, how to be better professionals at the job and this and that. And the community should oblige that. They should support it. They should support continuing education amongst imams. They should give their suggestions in a respectful way. We love you, imams. We know that you do things, I think that's very good, that's necessary. Imams feel underappreciated, to be honest with you. Imams feel underappreciated. Many imams are under heavy stress. They have families to take care of as well. Their jobs are constantly on the line with no job security. If they lose their jobs, where do they go? What happens? That's why some imams, they stopped just taking the hit, and they just said, you know what, you hit me, I'll hit you back. We'll just get into a lawsuit and we'll let the courts handle it out. And that's part of the dilemma that we're in right now. Imams, you have to focus on your own development. You have to focus on your own development. A lot of people want to jump in to tell you how to be an imam or how to be a scholar and this and that. And you need to focus on your own development. And that comes when you come together. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.